Well, hey there, it's Dave DeBow with another episode of the Meandering Marketer. And today I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about testimonials? How many testimonials do you have from your investors, from your tenants, from your clients, from people that you work with to help really kind of boost your status, boost your credibility in the eyes of prospective investors or clients? It's a huge deal. And today I'm going to be showing you how. So if you're like me and you've got a few years on you, you might remember those infamous infomercials from the 90s and the early 2000s. You remember those things that come on TV and sell ShamWows or whatever, or real estate courses? Hell, that's how I got into real estate investing. But they had tons and tons of video testimonials. They had tons and tons of case studies, and they would repeat them. And you'd have like a 20-minute infomercial. And it felt like about 15 minutes of that 20 minutes was all people talking about how great they'd done with the product or the service. So why did they spend so much time on testimonials? It's really simple, because whatever anybody else says about you is at least 10 times more powerful than anything you can say about yourself. It's true, right? I mean, think about it. We can pound our own chests talking about how great we are, but if somebody else that's credible says something good about us, that's going to carry a lot more weight. That's for sure. So I highly recommend that you focus on getting some testimonials. Now, I've been working with real estate investors and syndicators for many, many years now. I've seen tons of real estate investor websites and syndicated websites and capital raising websites, and hardly ever do I see any good ones with a preponderance of proof in the way of testimonials. If they do have testimonials, they tend to be kind of crappy testimonials, right? Written testimonials, no pictures, and just a first name and a last initial, which I don't know about you, but I just think anytime I see something like that, it's probably BS that the guy or gal made up themselves and just put up there. Okay, so if you just have a testimonial that says, Dave's a really good guy, I like him a lot, he does good work, signed John S., that's not going to carry very much weight. So how do we go about getting really good testimonials? Well, as you won't know by now, my whole shtick is about using and leveraging your own podcast to connect with investors and to raise private capital. Well, here's the good news. You can use a podcast to get testimonials. The best thing is you can use a podcast to get video testimonials from your very best, most happiest investors and clients. So let me walk you through very, very briefly how to do that. So the first step is start a podcast. Okay, so you set up a podcast, and the next step is you start interviewing your existing connections first. Ideally, your existing and past investors, the ones who've done quite well with you, the ones that are happy with you. Interview those folks. Invite them to be a guest on your podcast. What's in it for them? Well, an ego stroke. That's bottom line. That's really what's in it for most people. That's why lots of people love to be interviewed on podcasts. It's a good way to get their ego stroked, to get free publicity, free marketing, all that kind of stuff. That's why they're going to want to be on your podcast, to kind of show off and strut their stuff. Okay, so invite them. And then here's the trick. Do your homework before you do the interview. So pull up the information you have about that investor, when they invested, how much they invested, what kind of returns they got, all that kind of stuff. Have that handy. And then before you start the podcast, before you start the actual interview, just say, let's say your guest name is John. Just say, hey, John, would you mind if at the end of the interview, you stick around for a few minutes? I just want to do a quick little update with you, check in with you about your investment with us. They're always going to say yes, okay? Then you do the interview, you stop the interview, and you start another recording. And there you remind John, your investor, how much they invested with you, how they did with it. And then you start asking them open-ended questions. So, John, how did you feel about this investment with us? How does that compare to some of the other investments that you've done in the past? I remember that you're big into stocks and bonds. How does the kind of returns, the stability, and the security that you got with our investment compared to what you're getting in the market before? Okay, let them talk. Get these sound bites from them. Now, John, I understand you're a little bit nervous about investing in real estate. You didn't have any experience with it before. How do you feel about that now? If you're talking to somebody, how would you describe that? Would you recommend that they take a look at it as well? So you ask these kind of questions, try to get open-ended questions to get some gold, to get some really good information from your investor. And all the time that you're doing this, you're recording this, okay? And then at the end of it, you don't want to just use their comments without their permission, but you'd say something like this is what I say. Hey, John, you said some really nice stuff there about investing with us and working with us. Would you mind if I use some of those as short little sound clips, as video clips for a video testimonial? Would that be okay with you? And 9 times out of 10, John's going to say, sure, no problem. Then you've got permission to use that information as a testimonial, as a video testimonial. The great thing is you can spin it all sorts of different ways. You can pull out quick little sound bites from it, use those sound bites as video testimonials. You can pull out the information from that, use that as an audio testimonial. You can take the transcript of that, tidy it up a little bit, use that as a written testimonial, or all 3 of those. The more, the merrier, okay? So make sure that you do that if you want to get, even more investors, if you want to make it easier for yourself to raise more private capital. Show other new investors how your existing and your past investors have done working with you. And the best way to do that is in their own words, via a testimonial. And the very best way to do that is with a video testimonial. All right, so hopefully that's been helpful for you. And today, we're kind of doing our episode here. We're back home. We're not anywhere too exotic, but we're in a beautiful spot just outside of Kamloops. This is called Jacko Lake. This is my paddle number 2 of the season. And this is a beautiful spot. I've never been here before. It's about a 15-minute drive outside of town. Very popular with fishermen. There's a ton of fishermen out here. I think it's a stocked lake. I've seen several bald eagles flying around. I've seen lots of ducks. It seems to be a very, very vibrant kind of spot. So that's where I am filming this here from today. And as we wrap up, make sure that you check out our sponsor of this episode. Take care. God bless. Talk to you soon.
This episode is brought to you by the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, hosted by Terrence Shabillion and Tristan Fulham. Join them as they uncover the habits, mindset, and stories behind thriving professionals and their journeys to success. Listen now at pathways2prosperitypodcast.com.